What I thought was the end turned out to be the beginning of destiny by Lu Duo. After being sent to the countryside as an educated youth, I found myself under the constant watch of the village team leader, a man with rock-hard muscles and a fierce expression that never seemed to soften. Every day, he circled around me like a hawk, dozens of times over. I was so terrified I didn't dare slack off, often working myself to exhaustion and crying quietly under the covers at night. One night, while I was sobbing in secret, a strange string of floating messages suddenly appeared before my eyes. Girl, you're so clueless. Just call him brother, and he'll follow your every word like a loyal dog. He'll do all your work for you. He's not showing up 800 times a day to monitor your work. Silly. He's thirsty for you. The next morning, as the team leader once again passed by without changing his expression, I looked at him and cautiously called out, "Brother." He froze mid-step, then he turned his head and stared straight at me, his dark eyes gleaming, just like a dog catching sight of its favorite treat. I was the only girl in my generation. The elders doted on me from above, and a whole bunch of older brothers pampered me from below. Ever since I was little, no one in the entire compound dared to cross me. I spent 18 years in Beijing, raised like a delicate flower in a greenhouse. My hands could play the piano, write elegant calligraphy, but they'd never done a day's work. Then, on my 18th birthday, a girl showed up at our house. She bore a striking resemblance to my father. With tears streaming down her face, she said her mother, my biological mother, had revealed on her deathbed that we were switched at birth. She was the real daughter of my parents. My parents were stunned. They took her to the hospital for a DNA test, and sure enough, she was their biological child. I was the one who had been mistakenly raised in her place. She'd lived a hard life for 18 years and understandably resented me. After that, every time I was home, she would cry. My family felt guilty for having wronged her, and seeing her sad every day wasn't helping anyone. So they simply put my name on the list for the countryside relocation program. They wanted to send me away to be an educated youth, a youth working in the rural areas. I had taken her place for 18 years. I had no complaints, so I agreed, without hesitation. Right before I left, the brother who had always loved and protected me said, Yang, just hold on for now. Once Chi-Chi is better, I'll come get you." I swallowed my tears and shook my head. He was no longer my brother. This wasn't my home anymore. Leaving for the countryside was just as well. I wouldn't get in the way of their happy family. I left with nothing but a chest full of courage. Everything in that home, I felt, rightly belonged to her. I didn't take a thing with me. Just walked into the countryside all alone. I never expected life in the village to be this hard. Before dawn, we were already out working the fields. Only after nightfall could we return to sleep. My hands were weak and untrained. I couldn't keep up with the others. I was constantly looked down upon, especially by the village's team leader. From the moment I arrived, he would circle around me 800 times a day, as if terrified I might slack off. He was nothing like the well-mannered, scholarly boys from our old compound. He was tall and broad-shouldered, muscles rippling across his body. Years of working under the sun in the fields had tanned his skin a deep bronze. He rarely spoke, and his face was always stern and intimidating. Every time he passed by, his gaze would linger on me for just a moment. That look in his eyes was enough to make my calves tremble. Especially after hearing from the villagers that the team leader hated laziness most of all. When angered, he'd even hit people, women included. That made me even more afraid of him. How could I dare slack off? I worked myself to the bone every day. In just a few days, I had done more manual labor than I had in my entire 18 years. Each night, I collapsed into bed, my entire body sore and aching. I couldn't help but cry silently under the covers. I didn't dare make a sound. There were other female, Jiqing, sharing the room, and I was afraid they'd find me annoying. The more I cried, the heavier my heart felt. I missed my parents. I missed my brothers. Would they ever come for me? Why hadn't they written? It had been so long. The more I thought about it, the sadder I became. They weren't my family or brothers anymore. It was only natural they'd forget me, and this life. It was just too hard. Sometimes I thought I'd rather be dead. After all, I'd already lived 18 carefree years. Wasn't that enough? Just as I was lost in those thoughts, a string of strange messages suddenly flashed before my eyes. Baby, don't cry. Just call him brother tomorrow and he'll obey like a puppy. He'll do all your work for you. He's not hovering around you all day to supervise. Silly girl. He's drooling over you. I was stunned. Blankly, I stared at the floating messages. Blinking in confusion, I wondered, had I cried so much that I was hallucinating? I rubbed the tears from my eyes and looked again, carefully. The messages were still there, scrolling non-stop. No wonder ZHIHU's so obsessed with her. Just look at that soft, delicate face, crying like a flower in the rain. Even as a woman, I feel tempted. Tsk, the side characters sweet and obedient. Forget ZHIHU. Even those boys from the compound would have melted if she called them G. Raised in Beijing with luxury and love, 10 fingers never touched spring water. She's spoiled to the bone. No wonder ZHIHU treasures her. ZHIHU. That was the name of the fierce and terrifying team leader. My face flushed bright red. Wait, these messages we're talking about. Me and the team leader? No, that couldn't be. My mind felt like a thick paste, already muddled from exhaustion. After crying so much, I couldn't stay awake any longer. Somewhere in the blur, I fell asleep. The next morning, before dawn, the rooster crowed. Time to get up and head to the fields. I'd cried for so long the night before. My eyes were still a little swollen as I worked. The mysterious messages from last night had disappeared. It must have been a delusion brought on by fatigue. Some weird dream. While I was working, I heard hushed whispers nearby. It was Helan and a few other girls who had come from Beijing with me. She used to go to the same high school as I did. We weren't close, but she was in the same class as Deng Qi, the biological daughter my adoptive parents had taken back. I heard they were pretty good friends. What a joke, acting like she's some rich young lady from the compound. Ugh, just my luck to end up in the same village as her. All she does is flirt with men instead of working. She's always been like that, you know. She's flirted with every guy in the compound. Good thing Deng Qi came back. Now no one pays attention to that fake. TCH, shameless little tramp. Lucky for her our team leader's not into women. Just wait. If she slacks off again, he'll definitely put her in her place. I bit my lip as I listened to their words. Helan didn't like me, mostly because of Deng Qi. Every time she saw me, she had to throw a few barbed comments my way. I wanted to talk back, but they had the numbers on their side, and I was afraid of getting into a fight, so I held it in, swallowing my pride. But the tears I held back only made me work harder, swinging the sickle with even more force. The blisters on my hands had burst again, the raw skin beneath burned with every movement. Still, I gritted my teeth and pushed through the pain, not making a sound. Just then, I felt a sharp, heavy gaze fall on me. It was familiar, and made my heart lurch. ZHIHU, the team leader. My grip on the sickle tightened as my heart jumped. I bent lower and worked even faster. Ugh. My hands hurt so much. From not far away, I heard their mocking voices again. See? Captain Shi's here again. Told you, he's never liked her. She's always putting on that delicate act, barely getting any work done, just busy flirting with men and stirring up trouble in the village. Captain Shi's bound to kick her out sooner or later. Their chatter filled my ears. I didn't know if it was the pain or the anger, but my hands started trembling as I gripped the sickle. Sure, I'd never done farm work before, but from the moment I arrived, I had something to prove. That I wasn't some pampered little princess, that I could live on my own, even after leaving the Deng family. So I worked harder than anyone. With the fall harvest in full swing, I was cutting wheat from dawn till dusk. I'd gotten better and faster at it every day. I worked longer than they did, and my yield was just as good, if not better. So why did ZHIHU? Why did these people say I was slacking? Why did they accuse me of seducing others? I couldn't take it anymore. If I was going to get hit, so be it. I raised my teary, reddened eyes and glared up in anger, only to lock eyes with ZHIHU's deep black gaze. He looked startled when he saw the tears in my eyes. Then his stare grew darker, heavier, and more intense. His lips pressed into a thin line, his face taut with tension. He barked in a gruff voice, "Why are you crying?" That expression made him look even more terrifying. The courage I had just mustered to yell at him vanished into thin air in a split second. Why? Why does he look even scarier now? Was he going to hit me? I guiltily lowered my head. Behind me, the girls were clearly enjoying the show. She still has the nerve to cry. Now Captain sure definitely won't like her. He might just kick her out of the village. Even if she's not kicked out, she's getting a good scolding. It's just cutting some wheat. Why the tears? What, does she really think she's some noble lady from the Deng family? This little temple can't hold such a grand Buddha like her. My face fell. ZHIHU wouldn't actually kick me out, would he? Just then, another string of barrage messages appeared before my eyes. That pitiful little look of hers is driving ZHIHU crazy with thirst. Baby, don't be fooled by that fierce face. In front of you, he's more obedient than a dog. I froze, staring blankly at the words. Don't cry, baby. Just call him GE, and he'll do all your work from now on. ZHIHU's strong as an ox, great at fieldwork, and he'll dote on his wife. Baby, he's worth it. My face flushed. What even is all this? I couldn't help but think of the messages I'd seen the night before. So they weren't just a dream after all, the messages. They were real. Still thinking about them, I gathered my courage and looked up at ZHIHU again. He was standing right in front of me, brows tightly furrowed, his dark eyes still fixed on mine. He was tall and powerfully built, his sleeveless undershirt revealing two thick, muscular arms that looked about as wide as my waist. His body was covered in muscle, and his fists looked like they could break rocks. Getting hit by those? That would hurt. All that fire I had earlier instantly fizzled out. I wiped my tears, silently thinking, were those barrage messages for real? Because to me, he looked like he was about to beat me up. ZHIHU saw me standing there red-eyed and silent, his brows furrowed deeper, his expression darker. He took 2 big steps toward me, now standing even closer. I could feel the heat radiating from his body. His voice rumbled again, low and serious. Why are you crying? I shrank back, shoulders trembling. Even scarier, more barrage messages popped up. Baby, quick. Act cute, call him G, make him your puppy, and let him do your work. Don't chicken out, girl. It's time to rise up and flip the script. Say a few sweet words and you'll never have to do hard labor again. Trust me, never have to work again. Seriously, I glanced at ZHIHU, half doubting, half hopeful. Then I took a deep breath. What's the worst that could happen? Shutting my eyes tight, like I was diving off a cliff, I used the same soft, spoiled tone I once used with my older brothers and said, Brother ZHIHU. My hand hurts. There was a faint whimper in my voice, because honestly, I was terrified. Getting hit with my eyes closed had to be less scary than getting hit with my eyes open. At least, that's what I told myself. After I said those words, the person in front of me fell completely silent. The stillness made my fear grow. I opened my eyes cautiously, only to find ZHIHU staring straight at me, his dark eyes shockingly bright, locked onto me with unwavering intensity. He really does look like a dog, I thought blankly, stunned. Then, in the next instant, his gaze dropped to my hand, his expression darkened immediately, his brow furrowed deeply, his whole face taut and stern. He raised one large hand and reached toward me. I panicked and covered my head on instinct. The barrage lied, I acted cute, and he's still going to hit me. From not far away, I heard the sneering voice of a female jiqing, shameless vixen, trying to act all sweet with Captain Sure. Lucky for us, he's not into women. He absolutely hates lazy, delicate types like you. Humph, looks like she's getting what she deserves. But in the next moment, ZHIHU grabbed my wrist, lowering his head. He looked at the palm of my hand. My fair, soft skin was covered in raw, red blisters from the sickle. Some had even begun to bleed. It was a miserable sight. ZHIHU's face turned even darker. Without a word, he grabbed my wrist and started dragging me away. The barrage lit up again. He feels bad. He really feels bad, didn't I tell you? Acting cute always works. Muscular brute meets delicate little beauty. I am all for it. ZHIHU's sudden action didn't just shock the girls nearby. I was completely stunned too. I followed behind him in a daze, my eyes fixed on his broad back. His grip was strong, his hand wrapped tightly around my wrist, almost painfully so. He didn't say a word, just pulled me along with him, his entire presence radiating a heavy mood. He looked upset. I pressed my lips together and didn't dare complain or try to pull away. Soon, ZHIHU brought me to the village barefoot doctor and told him to bandage my hand. The moment he let go, I saw that my wrist had already been bruised from his grip. The barefoot doctor glanced at him sideways, his tone a bit mocking. "You did this?" ZHIHU lowered his eyes, his black gaze fixated on my wrist. That look was so intense it made my whole body uncomfortable. I instinctively pulled my hand back. Only then did he finally look away, his ears slightly red. He gave a low cough and muttered under his breath, "So delicate." "Barrage, boy, don't tell me you're falling for her all over again." My cheeks couldn't help but flush a little. I lowered my head and stayed silent as the doctor cleaned and dressed my wounds. The alcohol stung like fire. I bit my lip hard, refusing to make a sound. But I'd always been soft, no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't stop my eyes from welling up. By the time the medicine was applied, tears hadn't fallen yet, but they shimmered in my eyes, ready to spill over. When I finally looked up, ZHIHU saw my tear-filled eyes, and immediately frowned again. His gaze turned sharp as he glared at the barefoot doctor. But the old doctor, apparently his second uncle, wasn't the least bit intimidated. Before ZHIHU could even speak, the doctor rolled his eyes and waved us out. "Barrage. ZHIHU likes seeing Yang Yang cry, sure, but not when it's someone else making her cry. TSK, now he's pissed again. Who wouldn't want to see Yang Yang cry? Whoa, stop it, I'm getting mad. Those jerks from the Beijing compound used to treat making her cry like some twisted game. They'd even compare notes every few days, bragging about who made her cry the most." I stared at the barrage, slightly stunned. What did they mean? Who made me cry? But now wasn't the time to dwell on that. I quickly wiped away my tears and said to ZHIHU, "I'll go back to work." Just as I turned to leave, ZHIHU caught my wrist again. This time, he was careful, not gripping hard, but gently holding me in place. He said in a low voice, "You're hurt. I'll do the work for you." Then, without waiting for a response, he picked up my sickle and walked off. I stood there dazed, watching his back. My heart was a mess of emotions. So the barrage wasn't lying. Calling him ZHIHU really did get me out of work. That evening, I received letters from the capital, Beijing, one from my brother, Deng Jun, and several others from the boys in the compound. The moment I held the letters in my hands, a deep ache welled up in my chest. Just a month ago, I had been the beloved little daughter of the Deng family, spoiled and treasured beyond reason. Who would have thought that in just a few short days, I'd become a girl with no home, no parents? Sure, I had left with my head held high, determined to give everything back to her. I had wanted to prove I could live well on my own. But coming here, to a strange village in the middle of nowhere, it would be a lie to say I wasn't sad or scared. Each day, I worked before sunrise and came home after dark. No matter how hard I tried, I was still met with cold stares. And countless times, I found myself thinking of what my brother had said before I left, wondering if he still remembered me, wondering if he would truly come to take me back. Turns out, he hadn't forgotten me. I wiped my tears and opened the letter. In it, my brother said Deng Chi had fallen ill, and he'd been too busy taking care of her to write. He asked if I was doing well in the village, and promised that once Deng Chi got better, he'd come bring me back to Beijing. He said our parents missed me too, but that Deng Chi still held some resentment. They didn't know what to do. He asked me not to blame them. My eyes were red as I opened more letters. They were all from the older boys in the compound. They also asked how I was doing here. Was I tired? Was it hard? Did I want them to rent a place and secretly take me back to live with them? Reading their words, my heart felt warm. Suddenly, all the exhaustion in my body didn't seem so heavy anymore. But just then, the screen lit up again with a barrage of comments. Baby, don't trust those bastard men. Don't go back. They talk sweet, but in the end, they all just see you as a plaything. In the original story, that so-called brother of yours? He's no good at all. Once he takes you back, he forces himself on you. You only ever saw him as a brother. But after that happened, even though you were heartbroken, you couldn't bear to leave your adoptive parents. You still wanted to stay a family, and thought marrying him would mean you were still part of the family. So you gave in and stayed by his side. He did like you and cared about you, but he loved his real sister more. Every time you had a conflict with Deng Chi, he always took her side. He'd yell at you, hit you, scold you. He made you yield to Deng Chi, like you owed her something. Later, he followed your adoptive parents' wishes and got engaged to another girl. But he still couldn't let you go. He kept it from you and hid you away like a mistress. That led to Deng Chi dragging her future sister-in-law out to humiliate you in public, beating and insulting you on the streets. Your reputation was completely ruined. And that coward? He didn't even stand up for you. You were hospitalized for a whole month, and he didn't dare show his face at the hospital. Eventually, you gave up on him and your adoptive family. Full of hatred and wanting revenge, you got involved with the other men in the compound. But those men? None of them had good intentions either. They'd been eyeing you for a long time. Back when the Deng family was still protecting you, they didn't dare do anything. But now that you'd fallen from grace, they used you like a toy, pretending to help you get revenge, but really just tricking you and using your body. Some of them even took you to other men's homes without your consent, trading you away like some bargaining chip. You were passed around among several men in the compound, and it wasn't long before you got sick. It was tragic, so tragic. Later, when your days were numbered and your youth had faded, they all abandoned you. You ended up homeless, mocked by Deng Chi and the others who pointed at your face and called it karma. In the end, it was ZHIHU who took you back, cared for you until you passed away, and buried you. I stared at the comments popping up on the screen, my eyes widening little by little, a sudden shiver running down my spine. At first, I'd thought this was all just a dream, but after everything that happened during the day, I was starting to believe the words in those comments, at least 70 or 80% of them. From those barrage of messages, I learned the truth. I was living inside a book. Deng Chi was the real, beloved daughter, pampered by all, the center of everyone's affection, and me? I was just the fake daughter, gorgeous, yes, but vicious, and my ending would be tragic. No matter what happened, I couldn't go back to Jing City, even if I worked myself to death here in the countryside. I refused to become a plaything for those young masters. I quickly pulled out a pen and began writing replies, one by one. I told them I was doing just fine and they didn't need to worry about me anymore. To Deng Jun, I wrote, those 18 years were a mistake. I was a cuckoo in another's nest. I had wronged Deng Chi. I didn't plan to return, and he shouldn't miss me anymore. To the other men from the compound, I wrote, I'm doing well now, relying on myself to live. I don't want to go back to Jing City. I'm not a Deng anymore, and I'm not their so-called little sister either. I asked Deng Jun to pass on the message. Stop writing to me. All of them. Only after sending the letters did I finally breathe a deep sigh of relief. The next morning, before dawn, I got up and headed to the fields. But as soon as I arrived, I saw that the plot of land originally assigned to me was already being worked on by ZHIHU. He was silently cutting the wheat with a sickle in hand. His build was big, and he worked fast and efficiently. Much faster than I ever could. Not far off, Helan, the female educated youth who came to the countryside with me, was glaring in our direction, practically grinding her teeth. When she saw me, she scoffed and spat on the ground, then muttered under her breath, "Slut." I ignored her and walked over to ZHIHU, carrying some water. With a sweet smile, I softened my voice and said, "Brother ZHIHU, you must be tired, have some water." ZHIHU paused, then looked up at me. It was still early, the sky hadn't yet brightened. Under the faint glow of the moon, his eyes looked even deeper, darker, pitch black, like a fierce wolf staring down a tempting prey, as if, in the very next second, he might devour me whole. If it had been any other day, I definitely would have been trembling with fear right now. But ever since I saw those comments yesterday, my fear of ZHIHU had mostly disappeared. Sure, he desired me too, but he wasn't like the others. He never used dirty tricks to take advantage of me, never forced himself on me. What he liked was me, the person. He wanted to marry me, to live a real, honest life together, not treat me like some toy to play with however he pleased. He only looked scary, but he would never hurt me. He was a good man. When ZHIHU didn't respond, I pushed the water bottle a little closer. In a soft voice, I called out, "Brother ZHIHU?" Only then did he snap out of it, awkwardly pulling his gaze away. The tips of his ears turned a little red. He quickly took the water bottle from my hands, and tilted his head back, gulping it down in big swallows. But he drank too fast, and started choking, coughing hard. Water spilled all over him, running down his neck and face. I hurriedly pulled a handkerchief from my pocket to help wipe him off. The moment I touched him, his chest muscles tensed up, his warm, calloused hand suddenly grabbed mine. In a hoarse voice, he said, "No need. I can do it myself." I took a step closer and gently took the bottle back from him. Then I looked up, smiling brightly, eyes blinking with sincerity. "Brother ZHIHU, you're so good to me. Thank you. Thank you for looking after me, for helping me with work. Thank you for not turning away from me when I was sick, for staying by my side until the very end." ZHIHU's bronzed face instantly flushed red. For some reason, his expression turned a little odd. He didn't dare meet my eyes. He turned his head sharply and muttered stiffly, "I've got things to do. Don't use your hand yet. It's still not healed. Wait for me to come back. I'll finish the work for you." Then he practically ran off. I stared after his retreating figure, confused. Just then, the screen lit up again with another burst of comments. But this time, no words, just a string of, and finally, one furious message popped up, "Damn it." Censored again, I blinked in confusion, even more lost than before. After ZHIHU left, I continued working by myself. But less than an hour later, he came back. His hair was still damp. He looked like he'd just taken a shower. When he saw me cutting wheat, he frowned, and took the sickle right out of my hand. Then, with a dark expression, he started working without saying a word. Didn't even look at me. He looked fierce, but really, he was just a paper tiger. The barrage of comments popped up again. "He's totally, that's just ZHIHU being ZHIHU, carrying in silence. No wonder he scared everyone off with that sulky face." I looked at the comments and bit my lip, smiling, then leaned in and softly whispered near his ear, "Brother ZHIHU, you're really kind." His movements paused for a moment. He didn't say anything, just went back to work. But I could clearly feel it. The dark, brooding aura around him slowly faded. It seemed like he'd calmed down, and he even started working faster. For days after that, ZHIHU would come to the fields to help me. But he never delayed his own work. He just got up early to finish his tasks, then came over to help me in the evenings. I thought he was pushing himself too hard, so I tried to tell him I could manage on my own. But every time I brought it up, he'd give me this dark look, clearly upset. Eventually, people in the village started giving us strange looks, especially the women in the production team. ZHIHU was good-looking, capable, and even the team leader. Plenty of them had their eyes on him, especially Helan. Every time she saw me, she'd glare daggers and call me a seductress under her breath. I ignored her completely. But the older aunties in the village, they'd just giggle and tease us. They'd ask ZHIHU if he had his eye on me, if he wanted to marry me and needed someone to play matchmaker. ZHIHU would always reply with a blank face, "Don't talk nonsense." That could ruin the girl's reputation. I'd catch the teasing glint in those aunties' eyes, and still, my face couldn't help but turn hot. I stole a glance at ZHIHU. After spending time with him, I realized that behind his cold exterior, he was actually warm-hearted and incredibly kind. And just like the comment said, if I married him and spent my life with him, I'd have a husband, we'd have kids, we'd have a real home together. The more I thought about it, the hotter my face felt. I lowered my head, not daring to look at him again. Not long after, I received another batch of letters from Deng Jun and the boys from the compound. In Deng Jun's letter, his tone was displeased. He even scolded me, "Yang Yang, you really disappointed me. I guess I spoiled you too much before. We only sent you to the countryside for a while, and you're already throwing a tantrum, refusing to acknowledge us. Have you ever thought about how much hardship Chi-Chi endured for 18 years because of you? You owe her those years. You should be repaying her, not acting selfish and stubborn. Since you're being so willful, stay in the village and temper your attitude. When you learn your lesson, I'll come get you." The boys from the compound also sounded displeased. Their letters echoed Deng Jun's sentiments. They said they were hurt by my words, asked if I still resented Deng Chi and blamed them for not stopping my foster parents from sending me to the countryside. Chi-Chi suffered so much, and you've only been in the countryside for a few days. Why are you so bitter? Be the bigger person. We know you've always been delicate, but you're no longer the Deng family's daughter, so tone it down. Whenever you're ready to come back, write to us. We'll come pick you up. As I read these letters, my heart grew colder and colder. Then the barrage of barrage messages appeared again. Yuck, these stinky men are just gaslighting Yang Yang. They even placed bets on when she'd beg them to bring her back. Said that no matter who she turned to, once she gave in, they'd take turns with her. Deng Jun even said it was good to let her suffer longer. After enough bitterness, she'd be obedient. Scumbag. I silently tore all the letters into pieces and threw them away. Beijing, that place, I'd never go back. To me, those people were now strangers. Not worth my sadness. The next day, before dawn, I packed 3 steamed cornbread buns and a thermos of hot water to bring to the fields. 2 were for ZHIHU, 1 for myself. When I got there, not only was ZHIHU already working, but Helan was beside him too. I frowned and took a few steps forward, just in time to hear Helan shrill, "Captain Shi, don't be fooled by Su Yang. She only likes those city boys from Beijing, not a rural guy like you." Back in the city, she was always flirting, calling every guy brother and stringing them along. She even tried to marry her foster brother when she found out she was adopted. Just yesterday, I saw her happily holding a letter from him. She's still waiting to go back. She's just using you to get her chores done before she ditches you. I clenched my fists and looked anxiously at ZHIHU. His face turned cold, and he glared at her. "If I hear you gossiping like this again, don't bother staying on my team." Helan's face froze and she stomped off, unwilling but silenced. I let out a breath of relief and walked up to ZHIHU with a smile. Helan sneered when she saw me. "Think you're all high and mighty? You're just a fake. They only ever saw you as a plaything." I ignored her and handed the food and water to ZHIHU, telling him to eat before continuing to work. But this time, he didn't take it. He said coldly, "You eat it." No need to prepare anything for me again. I froze. From that day on, although ZHIHU still helped me with my work every day, he barely spoke to me. He refused the food and water I brought, always keeping a cold expression. I tried to explain that nothing was going on between me and Deng Jun or the others, but he'd always cut me off, saying he was busy and walking away. He wouldn't listen. Soon, the harvest was over, and my hands had completely healed. Since there was no more farm work, we educated youths were temporarily off duty. Because I had finished high school with good grades, I was assigned to teach the village children. With ZHIHU deliberately avoiding me, I barely even saw him anymore. I felt a bit down that day. A student excitedly told me his sister was going on a blind date with Captain ZHIHU. She might be my brother-in-law soon. I panicked. After class, I ran to wait outside ZHIHU's house. I squatted in a corner for an hour until a group of people came out. Among them was a neat, pretty girl with braided hair, his blind date, no doubt. She looked shyly at ZHIHU while the matchmaker praised her. She's good at housework, can cook, clean, and work the fields. Marry her, and life will be sweet. I lowered my head, suddenly feeling inferior. Everything she said, I couldn't do well. ZHIHU would be better off marrying someone like her. I turned to leave quietly, but my leg had gone numb. I stumbled and fell, right into a firm chest. Looking up, I saw ZHIHU's expressionless face. He steadied me, his breath slightly uneven, before letting go. "What are you doing here?" he asked, voice gruff. All the pent-up frustration inside me surged up, tears welled in my eyes again. I sniffled, trying to suppress my sobs, and nothing. Just passing by, I turned to leave, but ZHIHU grabbed my wrist and asked, "Did someone bully you?" I shook my head. He muttered, "I arranged for you to teach at the school so you wouldn't have to work the fields. Your family submitted a request to take you back next month. You'll be leaving soon." "Don't cry." I looked up in shock. "Who said I'm going back?" ZHIHU was stunned. I thought of Dang Jun, those compound boys, all the humiliation. My tears flowed uncontrollably again. Does ZHIHU not want me either? Then where do I belong? I wiped my face and said carefully, "ZHIHU, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay in the village. I have no home now. That place isn't my home anymore. They're not my family. I didn't flirt with anyone. I don't like them. I don't want to go back to Beijing." I looked up at him and continued, "I don't cook well, but I can learn. I'm slow with chores, but I'll get better. I promise I can endure hardship." ZHIHU's brows twitched. He seemed to recognize these words. I took a deep breath and declared, "I know I'm not as good as the other girl, but I can learn everything the matchmaker said. Can you consider me instead? If you marry me, you won't regret it. I graduated high school. I can teach children. Our kids will be smart too. I'll work hard to be a good wife." After I said everything, the man in front of me stayed silent for a long time. I cautiously opened my eyes and saw ZHIHU standing there like a block of wood, totally frozen. It took him a few minutes before he finally seemed to snap out of it. His eyes grew brighter and brighter, staring straight at me, emotions surging beneath the surface. He cleared his throat lightly, trying to keep his voice from sounding too hoarse. "You want to marry me?" I shyly nodded. A smile slowly spread across ZHIHU's face, bit by bit. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smile. He had dark skin, but his teeth were surprisingly white. He kept his gaze fixed on me like I might run away at any second. Then he said, solemnly, "Su Yang, everything you said today, I've memorized it all, word for word. If you ever take it back, I won't let you off the hook." The last part sounded like he was grinding it out through clenched teeth, his expression like a fierce little wolf. I quickly nodded like a pecking chicken. "I won't take it back." He chuckled softly, "All right. I'll go find a matchmaker." And just before leaving, as if remembering something, he added, "I don't like capable women. I'm a restless man by nature. I like girls like you, soft, spoiled, lazy, and clueless about chores. Once we're married, I'll handle the cooking and farm work. You don't need to worry about anything, just rest at home." My face burned hotter with every word. Was this really happening? He's too good to be true. The barrage scrolled furiously. My OTP is finally real. Get married now. Let him get what he's been thirsting for. I blushed even harder. ZHIHU moved quickly. Within 2 days, our wedding date was set. He began preparing for the ceremony, busy day and night. The day before the wedding, Dang Jun and the boys from the compound rolled into the village in a big car, flashy and loud. A crowd of villagers gathered to watch. As soon as Dang Jun saw me, he smiled and said, Yang, it's been so long. I hope you've come to your senses. Your brother never wanted you to suffer. But since you've always been spoiled, this was the only way. Once we're back, apologize properly to Chi-Chi and be sure to put her first from now on, alright? Behind him, the other boys from the compound chimed in with teasing grins. Yang Yang, Dang Ji worked really hard to get you back. Still standing there dumbfounded? So happy you're speechless, even though you're not a Dang anymore. You'll always be our precious little sister. Marry any of us, and you're still one of us. Yeah. Just stop upsetting Chi-Chi and everything's fine. Didn't you always stick close to Dang Ji growing up? Now that you're not blood related, marrying him wouldn't be weird at all, right? Dang Jun smiled confidently. Yang Yang, as long as Chi-Chi agrees, I can marry you. So don't fight with her anymore, alright? Meanwhile, the barrage exploded. Ugh, gross. They're just using the idea of marriage to keep stringing her along. Bunch of fake gentlemen. Disgusting. They bet she'd come crawling back. They thought after months of hardship, she'd see them as saviors and do whatever they wanted. Scum. The villagers knew I was marrying ZHIHU the next day and looked stunned. They started whispering to each other. I even saw ZHIHU in the crowd, standing silently beside Helan. I vaguely heard Helan say, Captain, Su Yang's always liked her brother. She definitely won't marry you now. ZHIHU stared straight at me, lips tightly pressed together, expression unreadable. I instinctively stepped back from those men and wanted to walk toward ZHIHU. But just as I moved, Dang Jun blocked me. He looked puzzled. Yang Yang? What's wrong? So happy to see me you're speechless. Come on, I'm here to take you home. Go pack up and hop in the car. I shook my head and said calmly. Mr. Dang, I already made myself clear in my last letter. Your sister is Dang Chi-Chi. We are no longer related. I'm not going back to your house, and I don't want to return to the city. I'm doing well here. Please don't disturb my life anymore. Dang Jun froze. Then his face darkened, realizing what I meant. Still holding a grudge. Huh, guess you haven't suffered enough yet. The other guys joined in. Come on, Yang Yang, stop being petty. Are you really still jealous of Chi-Chi? Seriously, let it go. Don't make Dang Ji mad, or he'll stop caring about you completely. Quit playing hard to get and come back with us already. At that moment, ZHIHU stormed over and stood protectively in front of me. Face dark as thunder, Dang Jun snapped. Who are you? Stay away from my sister. I firmly took ZHIHU's hand and replied, Mr. Dang, let me introduce you. This is my fiancé, ZHIHU. As soon as I said it, Dang Jun and the other boys were stunned. A few moments later, Dang Jun's expression twisted. You're marrying him just to spite me? Su Yang, I must have really spoiled you rotten. The others piped in. This is going too far, Yang Yang. We know you wanted to marry Dang Ji, but this is ridiculous. This drama won't end well, you know. I nearly laughed out loud. Me? Causing drama? I didn't want to waste my breath on them. I declared, no one's playing games. ZHIHU and I have been engaged for a while. The wedding is tomorrow. If you don't believe me, ask anyone in the village. Since we once knew each other, you're welcome to attend the wedding. But if you keep spouting nonsense, don't blame me for being rude. Then I pulled ZHIHU back into the house. Outside, Dang Jun and the others looked mortified. Later, after asking around and confirming that we really were getting married, Dang Jun lost it. He came to me again, trying to persuade me, don't be so stubborn. I know you don't want to leave the Dang family. If you want, I'll marry you. Come back with me tomorrow. Don't throw your life away out of spite. I didn't even bother replying. Luckily, ZHIHU stayed outside my house that night, guarding me in case they caused trouble. I told him to kick them out. He picked Dang Jun up and threw him out like trash. The next day, we got married in the village. Dang Jun and his gang weren't ready to give up. They tried to crash the ceremony, yelling about kidnapping a city girl and demanding to take me away. I was furious. Just then, a car pulled into the village. Out stepped a familiar face, Grandpa Sher from the compound. He was my foster parent's superior. I'd seen him once before. Dang Jun and the others clearly recognized him too, because they immediately fell silent. ZHIHU stepped forward respectfully and greeted him, Grandpa. It was only then that I found out. ZHIHU was actually Grandpa Sher's grandson. ZHIHU's parents had passed away when he was young, and he was raised by Grandpa Sher. He spent over a decade in the military, always by Grandpa Sher's side. Now that he'd retired, he had no intention of returning to the compound. He came back to the village just to visit his second uncle, and ended up helping with farm work. He only told Grandpa Sher about the wedding because he was about to get married. After witnessing the scene, Grandpa sure gave Deng Jun and the others a fierce glare. Then he smiled kindly and walked up to us, taking both our hands and said, "Never thought my granddaughter-in-law would be someone I already knew. Ajo, you better treat Yang Yang well, if you don't, I won't go easy on you." Shurjo nodded solemnly, with Grandpa Sure officiating. The wedding went smoothly and quickly. That night, Shurjo and I sat on the Kong, heated brick bed, in our room, flickering candlelight around us. His eyes burned into mine, making my cheeks heat up and my whole body squirm with discomfort. I was so awkward I tried to make conversation. I didn't expect. "You were Grandpa Shure's grandson." Shurjo continued to stare intently. Never lived there. Always in the army. Just recently, I was thinking of where to transfer, maybe back to Beijing. I quickly said, "You don't have to do that for me. Especially since I wasn't even fond of that place anymore." Shurjo shook his head. "You don't have to feel pressured. Grandpa actually wants me to stay close to him too. I just used to want to explore on my own. But now." His face darkened, and he sneered, "After everything they did to you, of course I'm going back. I need to get justice for my wife." Then, as if he didn't want to continue the topic, he said, "All right. Enough about them." His dark eyes swept over me with an intense gaze, and then he leaned forward to blow out the candle. His hoarse voice rumbled in the dark, "Sleep now. It's late." As he leaned in, my heart pounded like a drum, and my nerves were completely frazzled. In the darkness, I could feel his deep gaze. As if it was burning through me. "Okay." I whispered, "Barrage messages. Damn it, they turned off the lights. What's the point of being a premium member if I don't get to see this? So that is the end of the story. Thanks for your listening and hope that you'll like my video. See you in the next story.